Touchdown Tampa Bay. You're listening to the Pewtercast.
Welcome to the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host, joined as always by my good friend Ren Daxt. Ren, another week down, halfway through the season. We're officially starting week 9.
Yeah, where did the time go?
You know, this has been a faster than normal season, it feels like.
That's what happens when you win.
When did they actually say good times fly by, don't they?
Well, I have noticed that it is easier to talk about a losing team. It is easier to find content
When it's a losing team.
Okay. Because there's so many fingers to point. There's so many people to point fingers at, I should say.
Yeah, there's more gossip and conspiracy theories, and
people are all up in arms, and this person's got to go, and that person's got to go, and this person stinks. So it's been a little bit of adjustment this year to be like, it's like, okay, like, all right, what do we talk about? Who stinks?
Right. What are the weird theories that are out there that we can debunk or that we can make fun of or whatever? Well, guys, listen, Ren, we'll do our best to make fun of some of these things that are out there this week, because we're kind of back to that. There's not a lot going on, which is a good thing for Buccaneers, for the Buccaneers, I think, as we've learned.
No drama.
Yeah, there's no drama, except, well, we got a new player who's just
for all the drama.
The team.
No drama except for all the drama.
Right. Especially for all the other drama. It's nice to have football as an escape, isn't it, Ren?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was till last week.
Right.
I like, that Chicago game when they came out of the commercial talking about AB through the kickoff.
Yeah.
And the Bucs drove the ball across midfield. And they had done nothing but talk about AB and go
Brady for the whole drive.
Brady 6-yard completion, 2nd and 4. And then back to AB. They did it the whole. I'm just like, oh my God, is this what it's going to be like? It's going to be like this versus the Saints game. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's that, whatever. Like I think I really know what you're talking about. Take your mind off the other thing that's going on in the country right now.
Yeah. That we're not going to bring up on this show. So.
No, I don't. I quit paying attention to it about 2 a.m.
There you go.
On Tuesday. And I'm like, like Twitter will let me know.
When it's all done, they'll let us know. Yeah, exactly. Well, Ren, this is our Buc in the News show. So I want to say, first of all, hello to everybody who is joining us live, guys. Welcome, whether you're on Periscope or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube or the Pewtercast.live or Facebook or wherever you're finding us. Welcome to the show. We are so glad you're here. Or to the many thousands of you who will be listening to the podcast feed later. Hello to you guys out there as well. This is our Buc in the News show, and basically what that is for us is finally we get to the end of the week. We wait for all the storylines to wrap up. The work week is done for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now we're going to talk about what's happening.
Probably do that the rest of the year.
What?
It's a full lid.
It's a full lid. Yeah, it's a full lid. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the transactions that have happened on the team. We'll talk about any headlines that sort of popped out, interested us. We'll talk about the injury report as we're looking at the Saints game coming up. We'll talk about things we're looking forward to watching this weekend. And we'll close the show out with our predictive MVPs.
But we're not doing it alone.
We are not doing it alone. But before we bring that in.
Okay.
Little Red.
Yes.
For the last couple of weeks,
we've been trying our hardest to get rid of these guys.
But they did something this week. You want to know what that is, Ren?
Penny. They keep turning up. Did they send you a new ad read?
They sent us a new ad.
Buckle in, everybody.
So everybody buckle in, because we got a new MyBookie ad that you've probably heard on 15 other podcasts already.
I bet I've heard it already too.
But here we go.
Okay.
Late fall college ball.
Yep, heard it. Yep.
The NBA bubble, UFC Fight Island. It's clear that 2020 has been a year unlike any other. That's why you need a sports book with offers like unlike any other. So get some skin in the game, Ren.
Yeah, do it.
With mybookie.ag, where the odd boost, lightning deals, free bets await all season long. And with Turkey Day right around the corner, Turkey Day.
Gobble, gobble, bitches.
As some people say, we'll just eat ham that day. There's really no better time to feast than on some NFL action. Wow, this is some great writing. I love it. Whether you're listen, guys, you guys know the deal. Go to MyBookie. Our promo code is overtime. Use our promo code. They'll double that first deposit up to $1,000.
I think it's only 200 this time.
Oh, you're right. It's
100.
No, it's up to $1,000.
Okay,
it's up to $1,000.
Okay,
but the terms are simple. If you put in 200, they'll match it with. Wait, what now? You'll get it. Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. See, this is why I should read these things first.
Wow. What do you know? New ad read.
Yeah. The promo has changed. Use promo code overtime. This time they're only going to match your deposit halfway.
There it is.
$1,000. So if you put in 2,000, they'll give you a free 1,000.
There you go.
Or you put in 200, they'll give you 100.
Or you put in $1 million.
Hey, you know what though? Bottom line, that's still free money.
It is
digital money.
Free money to gamble away.
So if you haven't done it yet, well, you missed out on the full match. But this is at least a halfway match.
Been us and every other podcast that has the word Buccaneers or NFL in it have been telling you for 2 years now.
And what we will tell you differently is just use our promo code. Don't use theirs. Use ours. It's winning season of MyBookie, so come join in on the fun and win some cash while you're at it. All right, that's out of the way. Boom. Ren, you were just talking about something before I interrupted with that lovely ad read.
But we're not doing it alone.
We're not doing it alone. We have a good friend. One of the best things I like about this show this year, Ren, is we've had a chance to bring in some friends of ours from the Buccaneers fringe media, social media, real media world out there. And this week we've got this might be his first time on the Pewtercast.
Is it?
I think so. Let's check in with him. From BucsNation.com, the North and South podcast. He is the host over there. Evan Winter, welcome to the Pewtercast, my friend.
What's up, guys? Yeah, definitely the first time being on and absolutely honored to be here.
Yeah, man, we're glad to finally get you on. And man, you got God over your shoulder reaching down to touch you, and should be a good show, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the lighting adjusted for future on-camera presentations. It kind of looks like I'm on a VHS tape right now, but I'll get it fixed in the near future. You
could take a screenshot of that and send it into Paranormals. They'll come to your house and investigate.
It's the two fingers, so I can get my fingers in the. There we go. In the light.
There it is. Yeah.
There you go. Somebody's walking across the hallway right now.
Then they'll put a circle around a dust particle that's caught on the night camera. Ghost blips. Look, the house is heavy in ghost blips.
That'll be Abraham Lincoln spirit guiding through the night.
Have somebody off camera throw like a loaf of bread like behind you.
What was that?
Oh my God! Did you guys see that? Well, hold on.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can stay here tonight. I don't know.
Evan, did the temperature just drop? Like, did it just get
really
cold?
That?
A little bit, actually. Yeah. A little bit, yeah. And it's not just the fall weather kicking in. So I don't know.
Like
I don't know what's going on.
Third person in the room. Do you feel that?
Fourth person. So I'm not alone either.
There's a cold spot.
There you go. Well, guys, talking about a cold spot. Let's talk about some cold stuff. Let's talk about roster cuts. Let's talk about some of the guys that aren't with the team anymore. And we'll talk about other people who are as well. Buccaneers had quite a bit of roster transactions this week. We always start at the top of the list, and we'll go with roster transactions. If you guys remember a bunch of weeks ago, actually, I think it was right after week 1, Anthony Auclair, tight end, he's been with the team for 4 or 5 years now, got injured. He went on the short-term injured reserve. This year, they've changed the rules with injury reserve, and so they brought him back. So Anthony Auclair is back. Woo! They also activated Ren. What do you call him? The Pringle man?
Pringles man.
John Malkin?
Yeah.
Malchon?
Yeah.
Malchon?
He's Mr. Pringles.
Yeah. Yeah, dude's got a cool mustache. Evan, have you seen this mustache on this man?
Yes, I have. I'm very jealous. I can't get hair to grow right here in the middle from some reason, like this half a centimeter area. So anytime somebody's got an epic mustache, I'm always jealous.
Right. This is my no shave November. I haven't shaved since last November. Then this is all I got right here.
Hey man, progress. That's all you need.
Since last November?
Yeah, man, last November.
That's a year?
That's it right there.
Wow.
That's it. But so anyway, but he is back from injured reserve. But then they turn around and waived him immediately.
Yep.
So he's gone. Do what?
Another normal week in the NFL for most players, if you ask them.
Right. But last week we talked about that they had released Quentin Bell from the practice squad, which if you remember, he was the guy who was around during training camp. We'd heard a bit about him. Wasn't he also the guy that injured somebody because he tackled him too hard during a walkthrough?
Yeah, I think he's the one that hit Tom Brady, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. However, he's the former wide receiver that was converted to edge rusher, so makes sense for him to have a lot of speed coming off that edge that he can't control if that's the case.
Right.
No, I think what Brent's talking about is he grabbed somebody's shirt and he blew out the ACL, and Mike went nuts. Remember,
yeah, Mike was like, that better not be ACL or something like that. Yeah. I don't even remember who that was.
I think it was McCoy.
Yeah, it was somebody big.
I think it was McCoy before Fournette got there.
Yeah, it was somebody big, and I remember Mike was like, yeah, this better not be this. They bet. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Right. So anyway, Quentin Bell's back on the practice squad. Now, the very next day, next couple days later, Buccaneers officially activate Antonio Brown from the reserve suspended list. And to make room for him on the team, they waived Cyril Doink Grayson. So he was gone. But no worries. Doink came back to the practice squad a couple of days later after he cleared waivers. And to make room for him, they released John Hurst from the wide receiver room there.
Oh, man.
I know, right? So he is out there. And then the other thing, you guys remember Kenjon Barner, the running back?
Yeah.
He was an undrafted guy, right? He got popped for PEDs a couple of weeks ago. Well, he's off of that list now. So they activated him back to the practice squad. And then they re-signed John Malcon.
There we go.
So he's back with the team. And to make room for those two guys, they waived guard Zach Bailey and running back Cedric Ware from the practice squad. So those two guys are gone for the time being. But as we document every week on the show, these guys on this practice squad go up and down all the time. So
we do.
Yes.
And we continue to cover it week after week.
We do, because you get things like also going on the reserve COVID list for this week is Will Golston.
Yeah.
Now that's a thing.
Here's a story. He broke the news himself on Twitter and Instagram simultaneously. He had COVID during the off season, had mild symptoms, recovered, but then he had been around someone who tested positive for COVID that was not with the Buccaneers. So he just decided to stay home, told the Buccaneers about it. He has tested negative every day since. And if he tests negative tomorrow, which is Saturday, he'll get on the plane and he'll fly and he'll play. Or what am I talking about? He'll fly. Where's he going? Bahamas. He'll be playing Sunday night against the Saints. So a happy ending for Golston there. But I guess the cautionary tale is that he did the right thing.
Yeah.
Was it stay home? And I'm just not really sure how he found out the person. Like how did he know? That's the question.
Hell, I can kind of throw something in there. I had to quarantine last week, actually, due to contact tracing for 3 days because I do my 40-hour-a-week job. I go out, I do estimates for a contract company, meet clients, so on and so forth. And literally, I went out to this was last Monday. I went out to meet the client the week before, on the Tuesday before. Met him about a job. Sent him an email that following Monday morning, just asking for an update on the job. And he came back and said, hey man, by the way, hold off on that. I've tested positive for COVID. He wouldn't even have told me if I didn't send him that update for the email. So I then immediately went and had the test done, which by the way is absolutely crazy. If you haven't had those tests done, like my eyes watered for about 2 minutes after the test. It doesn't really touch your brain, but it's literally
like
really? It doesn't really touch your brain?
Well, I don't have a brain to begin with, so if it did touch it, I wouldn't have felt it.
That's
But
one of your favorite lines.
That's why you're on this show.
I mean, dude, yeah, exactly. So, but if it literally feels like somebody just puts a feather in your nose and like swerves it around for 30 seconds, and it's crazy. But either way, contact tracing, whenever you find you've had direct contact like that, that is definitely the way to go. And Will Golston handled it well. I'm with you though, Ren. It was kind of odd how he broke the news first, but you would usually think the team would do that in official capacity. But either way, glad he was out front about it, and hopefully he plays tomorrow because he is obviously a huge piece to this defense and what it does up front.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. Obviously, Vita Vea is gone for the season with an Achilles tear,
pinky
toe. He stubbed his pinky toe.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's on the injured reserve list, and he ain't coming back, folks.
Broken ankle.
Broken ankle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it possible he could be back for playoffs?
I wouldn't rush it. A lower injury on a big man like that is never good.
Right.
But,
I mean, that'd be fine, but
right. And same here. But he if he can play, I mean, I'll trust the team doctors and stuff and whatnot, but it might just be a better idea to hold him off until next year.
Yeah.
I'll worry about it when we get there.
Well, yeah.
Right. That's
either way. My point being, without Vita Vea, these other people have really had to step up just that much more, and they've done admirably so far.
Yep.
Nacho, Golston. I think Golston has sort of reemerged. He's been sort of a steady Eddie the last like couple of years, but I think this year he's really begun to reemerge without Vita right there. But then you also have Sue, who's taken up quite a bit of slack. Steve McClendon's come in and he's held his own and helped out in those areas. So losing a guy like Golston would have been a big hit, especially for just the just in case. I mean, I guess
Golston might, behind Vea, Golston might be our second best run stuffer.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't disagree there at all. And
better
I mean,
than Sue?
That's what I'm saying. That's the conversation.
Yeah.
And I would lean probably towards Golston. And it's mostly probably because, especially now that Vea's gone, Sue gets all the double teams. So, Golston has to win his one-on-ones. And I'd much rather have Golston in there than McClendon and or Nacho. So, it's a big piece, going to a division game to have there. It just makes me feel better. Now, he could play terrible, We've seen all that kind of stuff, with the front sevens going up against this beat-up offensive line that wasn't very good anyway. And they haven't shown up, pass rush-wise, as dominant as other teams have done to those same teams. And, we're like, we got one of the best front sevens in the league. And they go, and the team with the weak offensive line goes and plays the Cardinals. And they get sacked 6 times. They come play us and we sack them 3 times. And it's like what happened? But,
wonder who you're specifically referencing there.
Every team, like Denver, Raiders, Giants.
And the Giants was a surprise. The Giants was I was expecting a lot more out of the defensive front in that game.
Yeah, they didn't show up until the second half.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you got to wonder for sure. And Golston, man, I'm right there with you. He is having easily a career year. Last year was a career year. Well, I guess you could say his 6th year before that was a career year.
Right.
But just in terms of what this defense does and what they need out of him, he's playing lights out this year, man. Same thing with Ndamukong Suh. So they've kind of, before last week, they took turns in terms of who played better since the Vea injury. But last week, as you mentioned, Ren, it was kind of just like I expected more out of this, but at the same time, it's the NFL, so you can't expect, optimum performance every week. However, against 2 tackles like Cameron Fleming and Andrew Thomas, you expected quite a bit more. However, I feel like the Giants had a really good game plan. I give a lot of credit to them. So,
and that's what a lot of teams have done. That's what the Chargers did.
Right.
They got the ball out quick. That's what the Bears did. That's what the Giants did. So, get the ball out quick to your playmakers in space on the edge of this defense seems the best way to at least be able to move the ball forward 5 to 7 yards. And again, the only real problem with the Giants game was that it's not that they ran all over us. It's just that we're used to like 3 yards, 2 yards,
Yep.
1 yard, 0, -1, -2. Like that's your rushing game. They were going 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, and starting every drive and every new set of downs at 2nd and 4.
Yep.
And you know that and we're used for other teams starting at 2nd and 9 and 2nd and 11. So that was a big difference. And you know, because we just kept waiting for that 2nd and 11 to pop up and go, okay, here we go. Now we can, you know, start to bring some heat on Jones. But it was always, you know, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4. So
let me ask you guys this. So we're going against the Saints this particular weekend. We know Alvin Kamara is a big threat and a big weapon. When Vita was in, even in week 1, we shut him down as far as the run goes. Now I don't have the exact number in front of me, but this run defense has been lights out for a year and a half now. Yeah. Right. Even last week, as you guys mentioned there, like you talk about the guys against the Giants. Now, guys, it's the Giants. Their total run yardage was 101 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Total. That was all of their people running all put together. That wasn't even that's not a person.
Right. 20 yards came from Daniel Jones too. So.
Exactly. Now we go against some of the best runners in the league. We've got Christian McCaffrey in our division. We got Alvin Kamara. We got all these. We're facing Alvin Kamara this weekend. So what is this going to look like, you guys think, this time around without Vita facing Alvin Kamara?
I think the run defense has done a good job of holding its own. Obviously, we're not holding opponents to under 50 yards. What was the streak like? 3 straight games of under 50 yards or something like that at one point. You know, 85 to 90 yards a game is still an elite run defense. Alvin Kamara in the first matchup, I think it was like 12 carries for 18 yards, something like that, but he still had 5 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes elite players like Kamara so elite, for just to be mundane and use the same word. He can not only beat you on the ground, but he can beat you in the receiving game as well. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge deal, especially with a guy that has the physical traits that Alvin Kamara does. Just a smooth runner, balance, good contact balance, and just a knack for finding the open area. And it's going to be a tough assignment, as always, to key in on him. You can't stop him. You can only slow him down. He's one of those guys. And how Tampa Bay controls him on Sunday night is going to go a long way. He's the MVP of the league so far, just slightly behind Russell Wilson right now in my mind. Just what he's done this year has been absolutely incredible. And I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team.
That's just why you know what he's done.
You pay a little bit more closer attention to players when they're on your team.
Right.
If the Bucs can keep Kamara to 100 yards total, 50 and 50, like keep him under 50 yards rush, keep under 50 yards receiving, that greatly increases our chances. I don't care if he scores every touchdown that the Saints score, because I don't really think it's going to be like, I think they're going to score 2, maybe 3. Could be less. I really want to say like this is going to be like this game could get ugly for the Saints. But we're not coming off the Green Bay game. We're coming off the Giants game.
Right.
And if those 2 games were flip-flop where we barely got out against Green Bay and then beat the crap out of the Giants, and the next week we play the Saints, I'd be much more like, look, man, Breeze can't push the ball down the field. This will be Kamara's 4th time going against his rush defense. He hasn't run the ball well. Just got to make sure, like, you got to corral him. You know, they're going to throw the ball to the flats and to Kamara. Don't let him shed tackles. Like corral the guy. You know, learn your lesson. If he's coming around the corner and you think you have the angle on him, you don't. Like if you're going this, let's try to get the camera. There it is. If you're going this way, start going more up the field, because he's going to beat you to that point, because he does it to everybody every week. Like, oh, I got him. And the next thing you know, you're running. Now he's 3 yards ahead again. It's over. So, you know, that's it. Like, control Kamara, control the game. Michael Thomas, possession receiver, as long as Drew Brees is the quarterback.
Is he even going to play?
Yeah, he'll play.
Yeah, I think he'll play.
He plays?
Yeah. He's still questionable, but I think he'll play. Yeah. So, you know, Breeze will take a couple shots down the field only if they're wide open in a busted coverage. So as long as the Bucs don't bust the coverage, but Kamara is the key. Period. End story. Control Kamara. You win the game. Don't turn the ball over. You know, Don't let Brees throw it over the top, and you'd have to be like 15 yards from the line of scrimmage for him to throw it over the top. Mm-hmm. So,
well, even real quick, just even Latavius Murray. I mean, the Saints love to run the ball, especially when they play the Bucs. I mean, the last of the 3 meetings, they've had over 30 attempts, and even though they average just 3.3 yards per carry in the last 3 meetings, them continuing to come out and run the ball allows them to deploy those heavy tight end sets, those multiple formations that they like to use to keep defenses off balance. And really, to me, that's been the key to how this offense averages over 30 points. I think it's 33 points a game when playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. They just stick to what they want to do. So even if you slow down Kamara in the running game, then at the same time, the Saints are going to be stubborn. They're going to keep doing what they want to do. And as long as that defense comes to play like it has the last 3 games, then the Saints can do what they want, essentially.
Well, we'll definitely find that out. But the key, I like what Ren said. Control Kamara, you control the game. 100%. And the whole point of talking about that is Will Golston's going to be a big piece of that. Mm-hmm. So big hopes, big prayers, big whatever. That final test is negative, and he does get to, not quite board the plane, Ren, but at least suit up and come on home. Because one of the other things, don't forget, this time around, the Bucs are playing Saints in Tampa with fans in the stands. And to sort of skip ahead a little bit, we do this segment later about what we're looking forward to in the game. Ren sort of has this running theory, or at least he's said it enough that it's given me a running theory, and I want to see if it holds true. Of the last couple of games where we've seen there's been no fans in the stands where Bucs have played, it's just been a flat game, or at least to start the game. And it's been like no energy and not great things have happened. We saw that in the Broncos game as well. We saw it certainly in week 1. You kind of give week 1 a bye because that's their first game, no real off season, and no
Bears game, Giants game,
the Bears game. Right. So he's kind of got this. So we're going to be home. I was at the last home game where there was fans, and it was the Packers game. It was amazing. It was so much fun. So I'm interested to see how the Buccaneers respond being at home with fans in the stands, still with this great run defense. And, we can talk about the rest of the Saints offense here in just a few moments. Let's get on to some of these headlines, though. We've already tapped into that, talking about Will Golston. Speaking of people coming back to the team, Chris Godwin is back. We all know that he suffered a broken finger in the Raiders game.
Yeah, Raiders game.
The Raiders game. Suffered a broken finger, had surgery on it the following day, and here he is 2 weeks later. I want his doctor or his rehab guy, because that is he breaks a finger, has surgery, not even a full 2 weeks. It's a week in 4 days. He's back, and he's ready, and he's already practicing. He's cleared to play, and it's just a matter of if he can tolerate the pain. And Chris Godwin's going to tolerate the pain.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. They have drugs for that.
Right.
Dude, coming from somebody who tore their ACL a year ago, obviously watching football, whenever I tore my ACL, I was like, oh, no big deal. I'll be in surgery in a couple days. This is how they do it in the NFL. Granted,
Right.
and little did I know I had to wait a month and a half for surgery after it happened. So it must be nice, man. Yes, I would like his doctor and his rehab guy as well.
Yeah, you can still walk on a torn ACL in regular life. So.
I wouldn't recommend it, though.
Right. But yeah, so Chris Godwin's going to be back. And, the other thing that I also have come to say, and I like this phrase, that Chris Godwin makes this offense go. Mm-hmm. I've heard that from multiple people, one of them being Ren. I feel like John Ledyard over at Pewter Report said that as well.
Stole it from me.
He stole it from you. Yeah.
Probably.
That's the rumor.
Wow. I mean, if I say it first, I don't care if you watched me say it or heard me say it or not. I said it first.
There you go.
Copyright
but either way, Chris Godwin makes this offense go. And I'd be real interested to see how Chris Godwin's going to come out here. Oh, and by the way, let's go ahead and talk about it. Antonio Brown with the Buccaneers taking his first practice snaps with the team. He will play this weekend, according to reports. And Rick Stroud and Joey Knight, our guest from this past week on the Pewtercast Run, they wrote an article, a co-byline on it, where basically they said, hey, what's Antonio Brown's role going to be for this game? Well, your guess is as good as Bruce Arians. Now they could have said your guess is as good as ours, but they're like, nope, your guess is as good as Bruce Arians, which means he don't really know either. Like,
no, that's not what it means.
Well, fine, Ren. Tell me what it means.
It means they asked Bruce Arians what his role was, and he didn't give him any information. So instead of saying that, they decided to be petty little boo-boo heads and then go, the coach doesn't know either. And I'm sure they say that in the article. But that's the tagline to get you to click or turn the page or look at it. Like Bruce Arians knows exactly what AB's going to do, how much he's going to do, and how good he's going to look in it.
Yeah.
No one knows. Has a pretty good idea because he's seen him run routes and catch balls from Tom Brady. No one else has. So he has a better idea than anybody else, but he just didn't tell them. So, but that's true. But that's the same thing Tom said, before week 1 when we played these guys. It's like, we don't know what we're good at. Like, I don't know. Like, what are you going to do? Well, we're going to call plays and try to execute them. But, like they thought they had a game plan, but they didn't know if they could, execute the game plan because they'd never done it before.
Over under 15.5 snaps for AB this weekend.
Way over.
I think it's going to be right around that number. I don't know, especially when you consider how difficult it can be to play receiver in this offense and how much you have to be on the same page when it comes to reading what the defense is doing with the quarterback.
You mean BA's offense that Antonio Brown ran?
I don't know how much similar it is to Pittsburgh. 10 years ago when the last time AB was in there, and I don't know what's really changed over the last 10 years. I don't unfortunately have the acumen to accurately project that, but I don't know, man. It's just going to be interesting to see. But regardless, I think no matter how much he plays, he's still going to make at least a play or two, and the Bucs are going to try to find a way to get him the ball this weekend, at least in some capacity.
Yeah, and honestly, like if it's over, it's because because it's a tight game and the Bucs are losing.
And Chris Godwin might just not be 100%. He might be on a snap count. So it's a really good week to have him activated, honestly. And it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how Tampa Bay uses him.
Yeah. If this ends up being, I'm not calling for a blowout, but like the Bucs go up like 14-3 halfway through the second, like Antonio Brown's like, and the Bucs are driving down and they go up 21-3. And then like, and then it's like 21-10 at halftime. Like, I don't know how much you'll see it, Antonio Brown in the second half, because I think a little bit of this team is already thinking playoffs. So they're like, if we don't need to unpack this shiny new toy, let's not show everybody what we're going to do with them until we have to. So they're already thinking in playoffs and what they can do with this offense and what they're holding back. But again, somebody floated that theory to me. It's like the reason they threw to Cyril Grayson was because they wanted to get him some work, and this was the week to do it. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's like you got to win. What's the point of, oh, great, Cyril Grayson got work. Just throw him 20 balls at practice instead of 8 in the game. And it's like this, it's close enough. It's the same thing. So, if it's over 15, I'm thinking it's probably close to 30. I bet he plays like 50% of the snaps just because I think it's going to be a close game. I think the defense is going to come out. They're going to be a little overhyped, like what the Giants and the Bears did, where they used the speed, especially the linebackers against them, get them going one way and make them come back the other way. And then by the time, Bulls wrangles these guys and get them focused in and do your job, stay in your spots, don't over pursue. We'll get there. We know what Breeze is. Just do what I tell you. It'll be a close game and there'll be like a quarter to play or 2.5 quarters to play, and then it'll be on.
It honestly wouldn't surprise me to see him get in on some jet sweeps, for the Bucs to add that little bit of a wrinkle to their game plan.
I hope it returns everything.
He seems like he would be perfect in this offense to kind of move behind the line of scrimmage, be the guy that does the pre-snap motions. I know Godwin does a lot of that. Scotty Miller obviously does a lot of that, but it would be, to me, a smart move to move him around the formation pre-snap just to give defenses that extra wrinkle in terms of, okay, wait, when he moves to this side of the formation, do you have him? Do I have him? So on and so forth. And like you're saying, using the Saints' speed and aggressiveness against them, using him on those quick pop passes, those jet sweeps, we've seen the Bucs try to do that in the past this year so far. That'll really add an extra element to this offense that we've seen them try to do it, but haven't been too successful at it. But I think Antonio Brown would really give them a good option in terms of that type of offensive schematic, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I'm with you. Who's the best screen? Who executes a screen pass the best in the Buccaneers?
I'd say Chris Godwin. Yeah, Chris Godwin. Yeah, for sure.
Now, Antonio Brown's better than Chris Godwin in the open field.
I agree. Definitely.
You know, that's one of the things that make him so special. So yeah, run a double fake screen, like fake to Godwin, turn around and fake to AB on the other side, and then I don't know, dump it to Gronk running up the seam. Like there's all kinds of things,
but there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but I just want to see the ball in Antonio Brown's hands and see what happens. So if he returns kickoffs and punts,
how much do you want to see the ball in his hands?
As much as it takes to win. As long as it's it's like everything. Like if they keep throwing him the screen and it gets blown up, 4 out of 6 times they try it, I'm going to be going, why are they? Right. It's not working. So, as long as it's, if they throw him, here it is. If they target him and he has an acceptable catch to target ratio, which is usually for me 2 to 3, depending on how many targets you get. Like if you got 6 targets and 3 catches, you're bordering like, I'm pissed off at you, or why are they going to you so much? 6 targets, 4 catches, great. Anything above, fine. Now, if we're getting to like 7, 8, 9, 10 targets, I'll give you the 3. But, like Cyril Grayson was what, like 8 targets, 4 catches, something like that. It was, like 9 targets, 2 catches, whatever it was. It was just too much. So, but again, at the end of the day, I won't care. Like, just win. Like, Let
me ask you guys this. By the way, just to chime into the answer of the over under on how many Antonio Brown gets, Bruce Arians himself says he's going to get, I don't know, between 10 and about 35 plays. It definitely won't be 60 is
10
what
and
he's
35. Saying. That's not a small.
Right. Right. But so here's my question. With Godwin back this week, that gives us Anthony Auclair, that gives us our full complement of people who catch the ball, right? We've got Mike, we've got Chris, we've got Brait, we've got Gronk. Ant doesn't really catch the ball; he's more of a blocker guy. But we've got Fournette, who's now our pass catching back. We've got all of these. The Cyril Graysons, honestly, the Tyler Johnsons, those guys that sort of filter in. Where is Antonio Brown getting his snaps from? Who is he taking these 15? Let's just go with 15 to 30 snaps away from. Obviously, that'll be spread out a little bit, but is that coming from a Mike and Godwin, kind of taking a couple extra reps off? Is that coming from Scotty Miller? Where's that going to come from?
Go ahead, Evan.
Okay. I would think Scotty Miller is the one who's going to set back. Obviously, you want Mike and Chris on the field as much as possible, and that finger injury is going to determine. Right now, it's kind of a good situation for the Bucs because they could sit Godwin for a couple plays and bring in AB just to make sure his finger's okay, his hamstring's okay, whatever else is bothering him is okay. But in terms of just like who he's actually going to steal snaps from, yeah, you've got to look at Scotty Miller, you've got to look at a Tyler Johnson, and the great thing about AB is he can do it all. He can play outside, he can play inside. He can block in the running game. So there's a lot of different avenues you can take in order to get him on the field and what plays that you're wanting to get him on the field for. But in terms of actually stealing snaps, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, those are going to be my first 2 guys on the pecking order.
Yeah, I think when they go 3 wide, it should be Evans, Godwin, and AB, obviously, and then bring Scotty Miller in to do what Scotty Miller does. So if that's somewhere between,
really fast.
We run really fast in a straight line. If that's 15 to 20 plays, that's fine, but it all depends on how. Now, when the injuries first started hitting the Buccaneers wide receiver room, they went to a lot of 2 and even 3 tight end sets, to offset that. So you could have 1 wide receiver out there or 2 wide. So we didn't run a lot of 3 wide receiver as a base set.
Right.
Now the wide receivers are healthy. And you've added a Pro Bowler, an all pro, probably Hall of Famer. He would be if he wasn't such a jerk. So, Jerry's still out. So you got 3 Pro Bowl type wide receivers. So why put one on the bench for 2/3 of the plays because so you can get Joe Hagan as your third tight end? Like this offense has just changed dramatically to back to what a more BA style offense than a check down Tom Brady type of offense that he did, in the second half of his career at New England. So yeah, again, it's week 1. We'll see. I don't expect the amount of 3 wide receiver sets, 4 wide receiver sets, the amount of plays and targets that AB gets Sunday night will be the same if he's still here. He gets, in week 15.
Right.
Like everything is going to evolve and change. And hopefully, like, as we all know, they're playing their best football, in, late December.
Well, speaking of Joe Haig, Joe Haig is not going to be standing in for any extra tight ends or coming in for any jumbo packages because Joe Haig is actually going to be taking over some guard duty in this game. Ali Marpet is out for this game with a concussion that he suffered during last week's game, which he continued to play through the rest of the game anyway. But I don't know at what point.
I don't understand.
Do what now?
If you play through it once, just play through it again. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, I'm not sure at what point he actually started showing symptoms or
and who told on him.
Right.
Will Golston reported it.
Yeah. I have COVID and Allie has
Allie, by the way, he's also
Allie got his bell rung really good. You should check on him. Yeah, I'd be really interested to know, like, why didn't they catch? Because they got people that are watching for that kind of stuff. And typically if somebody has a concussion, they show signs of it pretty quickly. Sometimes it takes a while to manifest. So I'd be interested to know in Allie's case, like, did nobody catch it? Did he just not say anything and he played through it, or did they just not know? And like, did he fall over while standing up sometime this week? And people were like, you got a concussion. And like, I'd be interested to know how they came to that. But either way, Ali Marpet is out. He had a concussion, and he is in the concussion protocol. So that's going to put in Joe Haig at that guard position. Now this offensive line this year, has looked, I don't know, what would you guys say? I mean, I wouldn't say it's looked fantastically great, but it's not been the worst in the league either, right? Like, is it fair to say this has been a
top 5?
You think they're a top 5 offensive
line? They got to
line?
be a top 5. The guru, the offensive line guru, put 3 of them in his mid-season Pro Bowl.
That's fair.
Or all pro, his all pro, like 3 of them. I mean, Brady, for the most part, look at the pockets. Like he's got lots of time, and there's no one near him. Like he's not throwing the ball in half and like getting his arm hit. He's got plenty of room to step up in the pocket. Yeah, there's pressure sometimes, but before the Giants game, like he'd been hit once in the past 2 games, 0 sacks, got hit once, and that was a guy that dove at his knees. Now the run game, I'm just going to say, quit giving the ball to anybody but Rojo. You give the ball to Rojo somewhere between 18 to 25 times, he's going to get you 100 yards. You know why? Because there's only 3 times in his career they did that. And guess what he did?
He went for 100.
He ran for 100 yards, all 3 of them.
Right.
Led the NFL in rushing, dude. I'm right.
Yeah, for the month.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man, on everything you're saying. It's gonna be interesting to see how Joe Haig plays, and he has 2 career starts of his, I think, 35 career starts at left guard. To me, it just feels like, and I know AQ Shipley is on this roster as well and is a backup as well, but it feels like this coaching staff loves veterans. So they're going to plug the veteran guy in to take over when Marpet is out. The biggest thing, and I'm right there with you, pass protection has been great. I think Tampa Bay has allowed like the 3rd fewest sacks in the league, which is just mind-blowing considering where we came from last year. But in the run blocking needs to be more consistent. Hand the ball off to Ronald Jones. Where Marpet's absent really bugs me, though, is the help that he gives Donovan Smith from time to time. And
that's why I was wanting to bring this up.
Yes, and that is going to be the key this week, is how well, if Donovan Smith can even get help from Joe Haig, if Joe Haig's not just doing his own thing. Granted, Sheldon Rankins is out, so that helps. But where this offensive line really might take a step back without Marpet is helping out on that left side. And we've seen the Saints just run the gambit again, or run the gauntlet rather, against Donovan Smith over the last couple of years.
Oh, Evan, I'm pretty sure they've been running gambits against Donovan Smith. I think you might have had that right your first time out.
So I mean, that's going to be a major issue this week for sure.
Yeah, as much as accolades we just gave the offensive line, possibly the best offensive lineman on the team is out.
Yep.
Shipley, if Haig doesn't work out, BA talked about moving Shipley to center and bouncing Jensen over to guard. Maybe, Brady gets better shotgun snaps that way. Who knows? But yeah, as well as this offensive line plays, they always seem to have their worst game against the Saints.
The Bucs,
yeah. The Saints defensive line shows up every time we play them. And yes, the biggest culture has been Donovan Smith, but it's like Kappa got beat a lot. There was a lot of inside pressure. It wasn't just Donovan Smith. It's just his is usually the most glaring because he's out there on an island. So
why is that? Is that just because the Saints are that good, or are the Saints that good at getting into their head, or
it's just a matchup problem, or it's just there's that one person that you could never just sort of it's that last hurdle. It's Jordan playing the Pistons, man. No matter what they did or tried, he just couldn't get through it. No, I'm not saying that the game's over and they're going to get 9 sacks and they're not, the offense is going to be able to do anything because, we went to New Orleans and what was 9 plays, drove right down the field. Tom Brady snuck it in and 7-0. Oh yeah. Oh, this is different. Okay, here we go. And I think, the game would have been a lot closer, and this might be my Bucs fandom showing through, but if we didn't have just that pick 6, I think it's a completely different game.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So I don't think the Saints have a better roster than us. I don't think they're more talented than us. I'm just saying that when you look at the matchups, the Saints defensive line against the Bucs offensive line, no matter how well they've played, that's where they struggle, and Donovan Smith struggles the most. So, I hope that the coaching staff doesn't pull a Dirk Cutter and just go, we're professional. You got to do your job. That's your job. And you just have to execute. I hope that they give Donovan Smith help as soon as he needs it. If you see him get beat bad, it's okay, we're just one less guy's going to have to go out. It's okay. Because the 3 guys going out are all pros. You can keep Gronk in for a little bit, or keep the back in and have Gronk go out and have, 4 Hall of Famers run routes for you with a Hall of Famer throwing them to you. And that's a stretch for Chris Godwin and even a stretch for Mike Evans, but.
Well, and Claire coming back, I mean, he can give help.
Oh yeah,
on that left side. I mean, that's definitely something that the Bucs could use this week in terms of a returning player. He can definitely help that out. And dude, there's just something about this Saints team, especially under Bruce Arians, that when the Bucs run up against them, they just aren't the same team. I did a little diving into some numbers yesterday, actually, before my podcast, and when the Bucs. In 21 games, well, first off, let me take a couple steps back. So the Bucs have only allowed 4 100 rushing yard efforts since last year. The Saints have 2 of them. Whenever Tampa Bay plays other teams in 21 games, the offense averages 31 points per game. The defense allows 25 points per game. When they play the Saints, the offense only averages 21 points per game, and the defense allows 33 points per game. In all the 21 other games, the defense has 3.5 sacks per game, 2 turnovers per game. But when they play the Saints, the defense has had 2 total sacks in 3 games on defense and 1 total turnover in 3 games on defense. So there's just something about what Sean Payton, Pete Carmichael, Dennis Allen have figured out against this Bucs offense and defense. And it's just like running into a brick wall over these last 3 games. I don't know what it is, but the Saints have something figured out. And in my opinion, it's going to take the best game plan and the best in-play game calling since Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles have been here to win this game this week.
Well, first off, that was the most boring segment I ever heard in my life.
Hey man, that's what I'm good. That's what you brought me on for, right?
32 cents. I'm on 4-9 offense, but then next week 4-9, 6-2, 4-5-5 defense. Then next week 4-5-9, 6-4 offense. Next week 3-3-4.
I'm a Navajo wind talker, man.
Exactly.
Don't
I
give me.
I didn't see that movie, but anyway. You're forgetting one thing. I can understand. I understand how you got from point A to point B. The problem is Jameis Winston and our defense sucked. They've the only game you can go on, and it's really even hard to go on that because our team is much different. I'm sure the Saints have played better since week 1 too. But the difference between the offense from week 1 to now and the players that we have on the team from the past, last year times we played the Saints, the defense was terrible. And they were given I'm not going to subscribe into voodoo and hexy and they figured out something against the Buccaneers. I'm just not going to do it because I just think I think the Buccaneers have more talent and they got the leadership. They got the coaches, they got the scheme, and they got the Jimmies and the Joes. And it's just going to be a good game. I just that's all I'm saying. I just think that taking those 3 games, taking the furthest 2 back don't count because the most important position on the field, the guy wasn't there.
Yeah, I can definitely get along with that, and I can definitely see the logic in that. However, but you're talking about 10-point drop off in terms of points scored. You're talking about an 8-point drop off in terms.
Well, how much do you think the drop off was if I played quarterback?
Well, also you got to look at it though as well. If Chris Godwin doesn't score a garbage time touchdown in the New Orleans meeting, then you're talking about this team scoring under 20 points per game. I mean. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And then if Sean Payton doesn't go for it on, try to go put up a score under 5 minutes up by 2 scores, then it'd change. If Justin Watson runs the right route, shaves it off instead of squaring it out and going deeper, then Jenkins doesn't pick 6 it.
Right, but those are a little bit more in game than a garbage time touchdown. You kind of see what I'm saying, regardless, this coaching staff, if they still have the same mentality in place, they still have the same system in place. The only thing, like you said, and it's a big deal, that has changed is the quarterback and right tackle, obviously. But at the same time, and this goes back to my further point about how the Saints continuously run the ball, they just stick to their game plan. If the Saints continue to do what they've done over these last 3 games, and let's just take out the previous 2 games and let's just go off the week 1 matchup. Sure. Then it's hard for me to see the Bucs winning this game. I mean, it really is because they know how to exploit the offensive line. They know how to take Mike Evans out of the game. We've seen that time and time again. Yeah. And it's hard to even run the ball against this number 4 ranked run defense. And if Tampa Bay, as willing as we've seen them to want to run the ball, if they can't run the ball, it's going to put them behind because they have no creativity in that department. So
look, I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to completely put my fan hat on here. A little bit of an analysis hat, I guess. This team going into week 9 is not the same team that we were in week 1 of this year.
For sure.
Forgetting last year.
For sure.
With a different quarterback and all those other things. Yeah. Trend lines are what they are. I mean, from the sounds of the conversation, this echoes back to me similar things of every time the Bucs wear all white, this is all the stuff that happens, or every time they're on prime time, this is what happens. Like this is going to be a different, unique game, and it's possible that everything you just said there, Evan, could wind up happening. I'll be interested to see how it plays out, but this is a team that is more familiar with each other now than they were in week 1.
For sure.
Like by necessity, right? This is a team that has some momentum moving. They have some juice going. The Saints seem to be a little stutter stepping throughout the year. Like I know they've won they're 5-2, I think right now, or 5-3, something like that.
5-2, yeah.
That's because they had their bye week. That's right. They're 5-2, so they're not that far off of the Buccaneers. They just had a bye week and we haven't. Who knows how that game would have turned out if they didn't have a bye week yet. But the Saints, I don't know. Like I don't follow the Saints a close ton. I just sort of keep remote tabs on them, just being in the same division, but they don't look like the Saints of last year to me. They don't look like the Saints of a couple of years ago where they've made these deep playoff runs time and time and time again. They just
This is the worst team they've had in 4 years.
Right.
Well, yeah, no, and I get that, but they're at the same time they're scoring more points this year per game than they did last year. So I mean, they're at 29.1 points per game last year. They scored 28 points per game last year. 7th most first downs, like 5th most per drive.
Who have they played?
They played.
Who did they play last year? And what was it after 9 games? This is I don't sit there and run off these stats with me without like you got to look deeper. Who have they played? Who have they played?
So it doesn't matter.
Who was the 9 games that they played? Yes, it does matter.
So they've lost.
But it doesn't matter at the end.
Mr. President, Mr. President. Hey, it worked.
They lost
Chris Wallace.
Lost to the Raiders and the Packers. Those are their 2 losses, who obviously are 2 wins. That
we're talking about points.
All right, guys. Actually, hey, right now we're just talking in circles. So I'll let you guys have that conversation off air.
Go back.
Let's bring it back here.
Okay, but going back to the familiarity, like you talked about, Brent,
yeah,
there's no team that has more familiarity and continuity than the Saints team in the NFL. Pete Carmichael and Sean Payton, and Drew Brees have been together for 10 years. Dennis Allen has been there for 5 years, I believe now. The core of their offense, the core of their defense has been there for 3 to 4 years. These guys know each other. They know how to play. And again, it's an NFC South rival. It's a division rival. Things change when division rivals go up against each other. As good as you can be playing, and we've seen this in the NFL all the time. We just saw it last weekend with the Minnesota Vikings beating up on the Green Bay Packers. Division games change things. And this Saints team knows what they want to do. They know their identity. The Bucs pretty much know their identity at this point, still slightly figuring it out. This whole balance thing drives me nuts. But at the same time, there's a lot that the Saints have in terms of a head start on this team. Now, granted, week 1, week 9, completely different things. The season starts this week, in my opinion. But still, at the same time, I don't think you can just throw out the past appearances and the past games, especially whenever we're talking about the same coaching staff going against each other.
All right. Well, we'll definitely see what comes out of this week. I think that's what makes this particular week so interesting, particularly as a Bucs fan, because we obviously we want to get the better of them this week, right? Like that's all that matters is we really want to get the better of the Saints this week. This is a big game for the playoffs or for the division.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I was going with that. Thank you, Ren.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because if the Bucs win this game, then the Saints are down by a game. That's how it goes. Because the Bucs will be up by a game, and then if we lose and the Saints win, then we're tied. Right. Then you got to start going into tiebreaker because the season series is split. Okay. Mm-hmm. If the Bucs lose this game, the Bucs are down by 2 games. Right. People say a game and a half, but you can't play a half game, so you're down 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like the Saints will have a game on us. Say they lose, the next week and we win and we're tied, they still are ahead of us.
Yeah.
So it's a much easier road for the Buccaneers. It's going to be a much easier road to take the division title whoever wins this game.
Yeah, the Saints.
Yeah, it could be the difference between actually winning the division and just getting in on a wild card spot.
100%. Yeah, if the Saints win, they've got a giant stranglehold on this division. So
we have a 2-game lead.
Right, it's crucial.
Right. Well, and ultimately, at that point, I guess it just depends on final win-loss record.
Right, and when you look at
that, but for everything I just said, if they don't seem like the Saints of old, they're matching what the Bucs are doing, like week on week. They're 5-2, we're 6-2. Okay, they've had a bye. I don't know what would have happened in that mysterious bye week if they'd actually played it, but still, like they're not that far off of each other, and it really does matter for those tiebreaker deals. Evan, you just said something a second ago, just really in passing, and I think it might be getting to the last topic that I'd like to talk about tonight. You said the balance is driving you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
something that Bucs Nation has consistently talked about, and it seems not just
hang
for
on,
the last
stop a second. I've been watching chat for a while, and it's been going back and forth, and it's been fine. We got a Saints fan in here, Mark 504. Don't tell people to shut up, okay? Don't be rude back and forth. You guys talk all you want, but like don't tell people to shut up, and no Kurt. Just don't be a dick. That's kind of our rule. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, everybody's welcome. Just don't be a jerk.
Yeah, don't tell people. Don't tell people to shut up, especially people that are here every week. So continue, Mark 504. Sorry, Brad.
No, it's all right. Thank you for doing that. Anyway, this has been going back well before this current coaching staff, because we heard a lot about this under Dirk Cutter. It seems to be something that has carried over, but people continue to discuss Byron Leftwich's play calling and how much that it's just the thing they want to complain about. It's, I didn't like his play calling. I didn't like his play calling. I didn't like the play calling. Well, I've heard about play calling.
I've never heard that.
Never have you? Oh, wow. You should try checking out Bucks Twitter sometime during a game, Ren.
Oh, God.
But John Ledyard over at pewterreport.com had in his weekly write-up, basically it was an article going, okay, a lot of people are giving Byron Leftwich flack. Let's go see if it's actually true. I'd highly recommend everybody who's listening, if you haven't read that article yet, head over to pewterreport.com, check that out.
And we could just spoil it here.
Well, I'm going to spoil it because I'm going to get all the way down to the end. I want to read the final paragraph. Now, he was really looking at this past Monday night game, but the article is kind of an intimation over Byron Leftwich's play calling as a whole. And this is what he said: criticizing Leftwich for a run-heavy approach, especially on early downs, wasn't really fair this past Monday night, especially in the second half. If anything, Leftwich's pivot to a pass-heavy, play-action-oriented attack over the final 30 minutes was one of the biggest reasons why the Bucs emerged victorious on Monday night. Now, like I said, this whole Byron Leftwich play calling is something that continually is talked about again and again and again throughout Bucs social media. So I wanted to give you guys a chance just to really, I guess, chime in on the Byron Leftwich play calling. Like, is it as big of a deal as people seem to be making, or is this just the cool thing that people say when they may not really know what they're talking about, but they makes them sound like they do? Is, I didn't like the play calling.
Oh, me.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, first off, it's Monday night. Like, he's just writing about one game. And you notice that it's in the second half when the Bucs were losing to a Giants team because they kept running the goddamn ball on first down.
Yep.
And it wasn't working. So what I say to people that complain about Byron Leftwich play calling, I say, go look at the scoring and go look at the points per game. They're top 5. So it's really hard to complain about the scoring. The problem is, when you look deeper, is that they don't abandon the game plan when it goes south early. They don't do it until they have to. The Buccaneers offense scored 5 of the last 4 of the last 5 or 5 of the last 6 times they had the ball against the Giants and barely won. So and that was a field goal right at the half, and then they came out and scored every time they had the ball except for one time in the second half, and then the kneel down, which doesn't count in my opinion. I'm not counting it, put it that way. So if you're losing to the Giants by like 11 points coming out of half, I guess they kicked the field goal, so it was less. It was 8 points coming out of halftime. You can't waste any of these possessions. So you have to start pushing the ball down the field and testing the Giants' weak spots and make them make plays. Don't just come out here and go, we're going to run. We're just, nothing's going to happen. We're just going to, every time we run the ball, we'll get 4 or 5 yards. Every time we pass ball, we'll get 7 to 15. We'll march down the field. That's not how it works. Now, the argument about, you have to run the ball to set up the play action. Right. A lot of people have debunked that. It's kind of like pressures. Like what is a pressure? Like, how do you really debunk it? Like the guys at Pewter Report go, why don't they do play action more? They're so good at it. Well, you could just turn the argument around as they're so good at it because they don't do it all the time.
Right.
They're doing it the exact perfect amount to be good at it. If they ran it every single time, then their percentages would go down. But maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they are right, and maybe they'd go up. So, you know, it is very frustrating to watch the Bucs commit to the run early in games, because it happens probably a little bit over half the time. You know, like their game plan is almost done. Their game plan is run the ball, and then, you know, they get behind the sticks and it doesn't really work. And they keep doing it throughout the first half until it becomes glaringly apparent that we got to put points up to win this game. And then they abandon the run, and it starts to click, and everyone goes, see, that's what we should have done that from the kickoff.
There's a lot that goes into it, and it's really hard to find a lot of continuity with transitive property in the NFL. I mean, just because A equals B and B equals C doesn't mean A equals C a lot of times in the NFL. And the thing that bothers me, though, about Ledyard's main point in that article was the Bucs were down 14-3 at halftime and ran the ball more in the second half than they did the first half. They ran it 14 times in the second half compared to 10 times in the first half. Granted, 9 of those second half carries came in the fourth quarter when they're a little bit more ahead, had more of the game in control, so on and so forth. But when you look at their first down runs, to me, it's just like I said, lack of creativity. They don't use pre-motion snaps. You know, a lot of times it's 1st and 10, they just run it up the gut. And on their first down runs against the Giants, the longest run was 7 yards. Their last 4 runs actually went for 1, 3, negative or 1. So they had 4 carries for 3 yards as they were trying to chew the clock out.
All Leonard Fournette.
Right, exactly. And going back to the whole Rojo thing, that whole rotation, man, just drives me nuts, because we see Rojo get benched after a questionable fumble. I still wonder if that was really a fumble. Yes, it was ruled one. It is one at the end of the day, but still the whole sequence of that was odd. And he gets benched, but yet we see Leonard Fournette not get out of bounds and try to turn up field and during the 2-minute drive there towards the end of the half, and he suffers no discipline. So
and 2 drops.
Right. And so, I mean, it's just, I don't know what they're trying to do in terms of the running game. Like I said, I know they want to be balanced. That's what they preach, is balance. But at the end of the day, you've got to pick and choose your spots. And if you're going to want to just line up and bang heads every play, then at least show some kind of creativity. That's what drives me nuts. Overall, the play calling is fine. Ren, your point about points per game, scoring touchdowns when you get into the red zone, all of that stuff is legit, and it matters. It definitely matters. But just in terms of on a consistent basis, seeing and knowing what this team is capable of, to see them just to want to run up a vanilla offense from time to time, it bothers me.
Yeah. I think you hit it on the head. And I don't remember if I DM'd it to somebody about it or something. And we were talking about, what do you know? We're talking about Byron Leverett and play calling. It's the lack of creativity, especially when you see teams that we're supposed to handle, you know, be creative and find ways to attack our defense.
Yes.
And then with us and all the weapons where we can do Brady can make all the throws. Like, we got the receivers can run all the routes. We got the speed. We got any type of flavor of ice cream you want to throw in the blender for this offense, we got. And the lack of creativity to sort of be a little more exotic to attack these defenses is very frustrating. And I get it, you know. So, you know, is Byron Leftwich a bad play caller? That's really hard to say. Does Byron Leftwich run the ball too many times on first down in the first half of ball games? Yes. It's yes, he does. It's frustrating. And it you know, like Brent said, try some jet sweeps, like try something. I don't know, but yeah, running the ball up the middle 5 times on first down in the first half and getting, you know, a grand total of 8 yards. Like, it's getting old coming up here on week 9.
And in their defense, though, they do have a positive point differential in each quarter this year. And
yeah, I think it leads the league. It's like 85.
Yeah, and they're top 10 in each individual quarter in terms of point differential. So they have the lead. So, and going back to the whole setting up, you know, the analytics thing, setting up, you don't have to set the run up in order to set up play action. If we want to stick with that line, then the whole analytics community really backs the thought of teams running the ball more and running it more effectively when they have a lead. That falls in line with that. So, I mean, like I said, just to be fair, they at least have the lead when they're doing this. So it's such a deep conversation and such a deep dive. And just to pin it squarely on Byron Leftwich is unfair at the end of the day. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I just one of those, every time I see somebody go to that, I tend to roll my eyes at this point. I'm like,
yeah.
I go back at the end of the day. Look at our win-loss record right now. Look at how many points we're putting up on the boards. Actually, I had that same thought last year or a couple of years ago with Dirk Cutter and who was the offensive coordinator? Todd Monken.
Oh, yeah, Monken.
And I'm like, this team is scoring 30 plus points every single game. Yeah, we're giving up 35 to 45 points every plus game, but still we're scoring a shit ton of points. Like, why are you complaining about the play calling? I've never understood that. So
that's like the whole Mike Evans and lack of targets thing. The couple of weeks coming in before this, dude, that drove me up the absolute wall. That just insane.
Well, we'll call those headlines that ought not have been headlines. Well, guys, let's go ahead and wrap this. Let's put a bow on this. We've talked a lot about the injury report, and I don't want to detail that out. Ali Marpet is the only Buccaneer who is scheduled to be out for this game. Chris Godwin is the only one with a game status question mark listed as questionable. Chris Godwin's going to play, right, guys?
Yeah,
he's gonna try.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he caught passes today.
Right.
And they're going to see how sore he is tomorrow, which would be Saturday.
He was full participation in practice today where he was limited all week up
passes today. And so basically, if he doesn't get another break, which I doubt because I'm sure there's a pin basically through the tip of his finger and they just cut it off both ends. And he's just going to take a shot and go out there. Like, he's not going to re-break it. There's a pin in it. So, it's every time we've all have that, like, when you got that bruise or cut or thing, like you always kind of protect it, subconsciously from things. Like, he'll be fine. So he's going to play. If he doesn't play, it's not going to be because of his finger.
There you go.
He plays. He'll definitely play this week. Well, I shouldn't say definitely, but I am very, very strongly inclined to believe that he will play this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. So outside of that, everybody else is going to play, and that includes Mike Evans, who I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's still hurt, and he's not been playing 100% since week 1," which I don't know, but he's not on the injury report at all, despite what other people in the chat room are saying right now. Mike Evans is not even on the injury report. He practiced all week. Mike Evans can go; he'll be fine. And we'll see how that goes. As far as New Orleans Saints go, Justin Hardy and Sheldon Rankins were put on the injured reserve list this week, so they're out. Michael Thomas is listed as questionable. Hasn't played since that really stupid move that they made, Karma coming back and biting them in the ass in week 1.
But they've only lost 2 games because of it.
Right. But is this the game Michael Thomas finally returns to the Saints lineup? I think he was going to return 1 week, but then discipline, they said him, or at least that's what they said.
He punched somebody in the face. One of his
Chauncey Gardner, wasn't it?
Is that what it was?
Chauncey Gardner called him slant boy. And he punched him in the face.
Dude, Chauncey Gardner just lives rent-free in people's head, especially Javon Wims' head,
Oh, man.
I was on a Saints YouTube channel podcast, and apparently he snatches people's mouthpieces out.
Oh,
that's
really?
his thing. Like, he did it to Mickens on when we had that Keystone Cops moment on the kickoff.
Okay, yeah.
He got up and took his mouthpiece. Like, that's what he did. He goes up, he snatches your mouthpiece out and runs away. And that's what the Bears guy was so pissed about, because the first thing he did was snatch his mouthpiece out of him.
Well, that's what it looked like. Was like he walked up to him and tapped him on the shoulder and popped the thing out of his mouth,
and then punched him.
Took a swing. And I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
what?
There's going to be an NFL rule coming real soon about snatching people's mouthpieces out.
My favorite part about him doing that last week, there was this guy who did this awesome breakdown on Twitter about it. It was like a play-by-play, but the Bears, the play after that, they had a penalty or something on the next play, and it pushed him back, and they ended up getting pushed back to where Chauncey threw the mouthpiece on the field. And before the snap, you can see the right guard pick up Javon Wims' mouthpiece and throw it behind him before the play starts running. It's just this whole mouthpiece thing, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is just great.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why you gotta love the NFL.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a rule coming, man. I'm telling you. There's a rule.
Would not surprise me. The no fun league, man. No fun league.
Well, no bullshit, no fun. Like someone snatches my mouthpiece at me and throws it on the ground. Like I'm freaking taking my helmet off and beating them to death with it. There's no reason for that. That's right. You're just trying to be disrespectful to me as possible. Yeah. You might as well just spit on me.
Yeah.
Like that's just, it's just one of the, that's a line for me. You take my mouthpiece out of my mouth and throw it on the ground. I'm freaking like I'm stabbing you in the neck.
Yeah. Brent, what do you do if somebody knocks your glasses off your face?
Ooh.
I've never had anyone attempt. I've only been wearing glasses. I've only been wearing glasses for about a year. Well, maybe 2 now.
Dude,
yeah, about 2 years. I've never had anyone attempt to do it.
My newborn, my 7-month-old, he'll take my glasses off just like this from time to time, and even when he does that, I'm just like, "Oh, dude, you better watch out."
Yeah, don't.
Oh, I love you to death.
Fine words, 7-month-old.
You weren't really going to debt this early, son.
you just put him in the backyard and close the door.
There you go. So as far as injury report goes, guys, I mean, outside of Ali Marpet being gone, this is really a fairly healthy 2 squads.
Yes.
Coming in to face each other. So that should present for at least a good game. Like you're not going to get, some sort of lopsided game, or at least one of those we predicted. So Evan, I'll let you go first. What are and I know you've talked about it a little bit, but just sort of concisely put it for us. Like, what are some of the things you're looking forward to watching in this week's game against the Saints?
Run defense for the Bucs, run offense for the Saints. Like I said, they're just stubborn as hell about it. They're as stubborn as a stub toe when it comes to running the ball against the Bucs. They're going to want to do that. How much can the Bucs control that, especially with Vita Vea? We saw some cracks in the run defense last week against the Giants, rather, as Ren alluded to earlier. And then I'm looking at pressure. Both of these teams have the lowest allowed pressure rate in the NFL. Mm-hmm. We both know that pressure is what throws these quarterbacks off their game. The Bucs have been great at getting pressure, so have the Saints. So it's really about who protects the best. And obviously we're looking at Sheldon Rankins out on the defensive line, but Ali Marpet out on the offensive line. So those 2 moves kind of cancel out. It's all going to be about how Tampa Bay protects Tom Brady and how they stop the run, honestly, as crazy as that sounds when it comes to the run defense.
Yeah, when you have 2 teams that have this good of roster, they both got top 5 rosters
for sure,
and coaching staffs, and so they got the Jimmy, the Joes, and they got the coaches, they got the scheme. So, this is going to be must see TV. It goes back to the very basics. Like all these guys are good; they're all going to show up. You can't count on somebody having a bad day or JPP is going to dominate, like our defensive line is going to dominate the Giants, like, their offensive line, like everybody's good.
Yep.
So it goes down to like, don't turn the ball over, win on first down, and keep Tom Brady clean. Like the third here's the thing that I've always noticed about Breeze is the way to like not beat the Saints, not sort of like shut down their offense. But the best way to put it is to get him off the field. On third and passing situations, you got to bring lots of pressure because Breeze is not going to hold the ball. He's going to check down, and he'll throw it short of the sticks. You get him to throw to the sticks, you come up and make the tackle and get off the field because Breeze, and Brady does it too, and so all the old guys, Phillip Rivers, they live to play another day, another down. So they're going to get rid of it quick, check it down. You come up and make the tackle. The problem is he's checking it to Kamara, and that guy's got, it's like they dip him in baby oil. Like you can't get a hold of the guy. Like people just slide off him all the time. And then he's probably the fastest player in the NFL that no one says is fast. He's not going to beat Tariq Hill, and there's probably some other guys that are considered fast, but Kamara is like the fastest guy in the NFL that people, when you talk about him, go, oh, he's fast. Like people just don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. So again, like no turnovers and control Kamara. And I think everything else just kind of take care of itself.
Third and long too is a huge issue. Obviously you don't want to get in third and long against any team, but especially when you go up against the Saints. And I mean, the Bucs do this too. But they throw so many different looks at you on defense when you get into third and long. It's hard to identify who's coming where, who's doing what.
Right.
And Tom, we've seen this Bucs team get into third and longs, get behind the chains. And Tom Brady's talked about it as well. That's also something they've got to avoid big time this week.
Right. But I do give the tip that because the weakest part of the team is the Saints defense isn't as good as it's been in years past.
Agreed.
And they're kind of living off reputation, and their secondary is not that good.
No,
it's not. Even Lattimore, who makes Mike Evans turns him into a ghost. He's been up and down this year.
Right.
So I really if you're going to look at how you're going to beat the Saints defense, just pass the ball.
Yep.
Pass the ball. So in a third and long situation, I think, the needle sort of tilts towards the Buccaneers about being able to convert it. But again, it's these teams are both really good. They're both going to have good big game plans. They both know how to execute. It's best on best, and it's going to be fun to watch.
For sure.
All right. I'm looking forward to Cam Jordan, my favorite Saints player.
He hates Cam Jordan.
One I hate the most. I just hate Cam Jordan. I really do. And I just want to. That's what I'm looking forward to watching. Is I want to see what happens with him. Like, does he actually get to Brady? Is he going to do anything, or are tackles going to hold up? And I remember in the first game, he switched back and forth. He went between the rookie Tristan Wirfs and he went through the swinging door Donovan Smith. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious to see how he holds up one way or the other in this week. All right, guys, that's really gonna wrap us up. So we're here at the end of the show, and this is the spot where I want to we're gonna pay homage to the godfather of Buccaneers podcasting. One of the things he always used to do on his show was he had predictive MVPs heading into the game. So those of you guys in the chat room, go ahead and drop in your predictive MVPs. We'll shout those out here in just a moment. But Evan, I'll put it to you first, man. Who do you got as your predictive MVP for this game coming up, Buccaneers versus the Saints?
Rob Gronkowski. He's on fire. The Tom Brady Gronkowski connection is looking really, really good over these last 3 weeks. Almost willing to say that it's back. Not there just yet, but it's certainly on its way. Saints have issues guarding tight ends down the seam. One reason why they traded for Quan Alexander was for his speed, was for his coverage abilities.
I forgot about that one altogether.
Yeah,
Quan Alexander's back.
He's not playing. He's not playing.
He won't play. Yeah. But even though we saw in Tampa Bay him struggle in coverage from time to time, a lot of the times, he still has that range, still has that speed to run with guys down the field. But the Saints, they struggle against tight ends. They have allowed 6 touchdown receptions, which is the third most in the NFL. And all 6 of those touchdowns have come inside the red zone. So when Tampa Bay moves into the red zone, I'm looking for Gronk especially. But I think he's going to have a big day, man. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go for over 5 catches, 80 yards, and at least 1 touchdown in this game.
I'm going with, I haven't done it all year long, but I'm taking it. I'm doing it. The guy who's going to throw to Gronk to make him the MVP, it's going to be Tom Brady. He has a touchdown lead against Drew Brees. He lost to him week 1. He's pissed as hell. He threw a pick 6. The reason we lost the Saints game, or I shouldn't say we, the reason the Buccaneers lost the Saints game was because of Tom
It's okay,
Brady.
Ren. We're a fan show. You can say we.
I don't feel like saying it. Was because of Tom Brady. Tom Brady lost. He was the biggest reason, not the only reason, but definitely the biggest reason was the way he played. And I think he's going to look for vengeance, and he's going to have an Aaron Rodgers, I hope, an Aaron Rodgers type game that Aaron Rodgers just had against San Francisco. I think that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Tom Brady. I haven't done it yet all year, and I think it's time for him to one more time for the 100,000th time show the rest of the NFL why he's still the best quarterback in the league.
There you go. I like that. I'm going to another guy that Tom Brady is going to be thrown to, or at least maybe he'll be thrown to. I don't know. He hasn't thrown to him a whole lot in the last couple of weeks, but I think this is a week breakout week for not a breakout week, but I think this is a good week for Mike Evans. I think this is the week where we see him back with everything else going on, all the attention going on. There's always this fight between Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that should be one of those fun things to watch every week too.
It's not fun though. It's not fun.
No, well, okay, maybe not fun, but a thing to watch. Something you're looking forward to seeing is what's going to happen. What's going to unfold in the next chapter of the Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore story. And sometimes Marshawn gets the better of Mike Evans, and times Mike Evans gets the better of Marshawn. And I think that Mike is due for it this week. So
I hope that's the case.
Yeah, I'd really like to see that.
I've been saying how long have I been saying that?
Right. So that's where I'm going. I'm going with Mike Evans. I think he's going to be our predictive MVP. I think we're going to see him. I'm okay. This is totally a fan pick. I hope this is the week we see him get up over 100 yards. Finally break another 100-yard game out. Grab a touchdown. Everything else that happens. So I'm going with Mike Evans. We'll see what happens, but by the time the game is on. A couple people over in the chat room. Garv is saying AB with 10 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I don't think
that's only on 8 plays too.
Couple of flickers thrown in there.
10 catches on 8 plays.
If he gets half of that stat line, that's a major success for the Bucs. So hey,
Sure.
I'm all for it.
Sure, that's a hell of a comeback game. Greg and G Vegas says SMB is going to be his MVP. Thinks Breeze is going to pick on him and it'll backfire. Eric Colson, Bren, you'll like this one. Says Carlton Davis is going to be his MVP. And that's all. Tom Brady. Brian Shaw says Tom Brady is going to be the MVP back there. And that's it right there. So those are our MVPs. Evan, thanks so much for joining us this week as we're talking about everything happening with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man.
Dude, of course. It was my pleasure. Definitely got to get you all on the North and South podcast soon. And as always, it was my pleasure to come on here.
Well, you know where to find us. Evan, talk to the folks out there.
I think that's the 5th time Evan's told me that.
Actually, it's the 7th. So
yeah, probably 7, and not like the same day.
But who's counting, right?
About every 4 months. Oh, I gotta get you on the podcast. Okay, well, I'm standing right here.
There you go.
I'm kidding. Where to find you, buddy?
Evan, tell the folks you got a couple things. You got Bucs Nation, you got the podcast, everything else. Tell the folks where they can get in touch with you and find out everything that you're doing out there.
Yeah, man, if you ever want to talk Bucs football or just NFL in general or make fun of my red hair, at Evan_winner. That's me on Twitter, BucsNation.com, and North and South Podcast. And then if you have any interest in Tennessee football, which I don't blame you if you don't, check me out on RockyTopTalk.com. That's the SB Nation UT Vols website.
Fantastic. Ren.
Yeah.
Ren, we got another show coming up later this week.
We do.
This weekend. After that, Evan won't be here. I mean, he can call in. Evan, you can still be part of that show. You just got to call, buddy. But that is the original Buccaneers fan-driven post-game call-in show is back right after the game on Sunday night. You guys can join us right here on youtube.com/thepewtercast. Go ahead and subscribe now. Click that bell icon. You'll be notified just as soon as we go live. But hey, here's a real good clue. Clock's hit 000. Come on in, and you guys will be there. Also, Ren, you've got something going on. Collide Party app, the chat room, hanging out with Ren during the game. That's been a super cool feature we've had the last couple of weeks. That's coming back again this week. People can go to the Collide Party app right now and go ahead and get in the room right now. You don't have to wait. Once you're in, you're in. You don't get booted out. So you guys go do that. How can folks find you and get in touch with you for that whole Collide thing?
You can go on Apple or Android and type in Collide or Collide Party.
Collide with Y?
I'm getting there, buddy.
Oh, all right. Trying to help.
COLLYDE. Sorry. Cut that out. Or you can just type in BuccaneersWatchParty.com up there in your browser or on your phone, and it'll take you right to a little page with links to either Android or the Apple Store, and you can download it there. And then you just scroll down and you find the one that says Buccaneers versus Saints Pewtercast, and you join in, and it's a live chat, and that's what we do. I'll be there. The first game we hit over 50. This one, the last game. Last week we got right to 49, didn't quite hit 50. And this week I'm pushing for 100. I just want, why not?
Ren's got goals.
Got goals.
Got aspirations and goals.
That's right. And if it doesn't come true, there's zero, no accountability whatsoever.
There you go.
So fail, no one cares. Not a big deal.
Just fade sunset.
Yeah, I still get to start. It doesn't matter. But it's a lot of fun. It's it's gone better than I ever really thought it would. So basically it's what we're doing. We're just doing here. Like instead of like hanging out on Twitter and live tweeting the game, you're doing the same thing, but people are reacting back to you. And it's a much smaller feed, and they're all Bucs fans and or State fans. They have been only all Bucs fans, and that's kind of the way I want to keep it. Sorry, Mark 504, you can't come. But it's a lot of fun, and you make some new friends, and then you can connect and start following each other on Twitter or other social medias, or maybe, maybe it happens to be your next door neighbor and you never knew. So COLLYDE, Collide or Collide Party at Android or Apple, and then look for the room that says Bucs Saints Pewtercast, and I will be there. And like Brent said, you can jump in right now, and you'll just stay in there, and then you can pop in tomorrow at noon and say, I want to punch Sean Payton in his ugly face, and then jump back out, and people will respond to it. So, but the best place to find me on Twitter is at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, but if you don't want to put your opinion out there into the Twitterverse because it might be just too hot, you can slide into my DMs and I'll talk Buccaneers football there as well too.
Yeah, and if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And the show is at The Pewtercast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us to thepewtercast@gmail.com. Please keep in mind anything you send to us we could use on a future episode of The Pewtercast. And yeah, guys, like I said, go subscribe. Hit it right now. You guys can be notified just as soon as we go live. We'll be right back after the game. Going live, we'll take phone calls. You can join us here in the video chat as we discuss the Saints. Hopefully their loss coming up here this Sunday night. Should be a good time had by all. But for right now, that's going to do it for us for tonight. So until next time, guys, go Bucs.
Fire the cannons.